And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Flight that left Houston for San Antonio, and sometimes he'd call me up and say, "Get some food on. I'm bringing Stan home."
That's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food. Barbara, I don't know if he ever told you anything behind the scenes, and you may have answered this question. Like I said, I'm no expert, trust me. And if I got an IQ of 70, that's impressive. But
Oh boy.
I'm a big Von Erich guy. I've always have been WWE guy, Von Erich guy. Frank did make a legacy down in Texas. He was incredible down there. But this kind of question, again, I don't know if you know it and whatever, but when David Von Erich passed in Japan, there's a story that he passed from the intestinal thing, and then there's a story that there were drugs and Frank wanted to keep his legacy and threw the drugs away. Did Frank ever share that story with you?
No, I know he was the one that found him. So no, he didn't share if there was anything attached to it. No. So, but yeah, I know it shocked him, because I was visiting overseas at the time, and he called me, and he never called me when he was in Japan because of the fact it was too expensive. Frank was very frugal. And those were the days before we had internet, before we had all these phone things. So if you made a phone call, it was a fortune. So when he made the phone call, and I was overseas too, I knew something was wrong. And he was just devastated because, like I said, they were waiting for, as you know, they were waiting for David on the bus. And when he didn't show up, they sent Frank up to the room to see what was wrong. And of course, David had passed. He was in bed and just probably passed in his sleep, because he was already sick, if I remember, before he even went to Japan. And we know that international travel is, if you're not feeling the best, is really bad. So whatever it was, I think it was a total accident. He didn't, he wasn't meant to die. It's just a total accident.
Barbara, I know it's not an easy question to ask, so forgive me, but is it possible that you can share the call that you received when you found out about your husband's passing? Who called you, and how did that go down?
Oh, well, I had talked to Frank that afternoon, and we'd set up a meeting I was doing something for him, and we were going to talk on Monday afternoon. So the phone started ringing about 12 o'clock. We said, do not answer the phone. We've talked. We didn't have an answer machine either. There was no answering machine. So we made a pact. Don't answer the phone, if it's not for us. You know what I mean? We didn't know. I talked to him, so I knew it wasn't him. And, well, let's face it, if you're in the public eye, you have all these women that try to cause trouble, that make phone calls and this and that. I don't have to go on. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right, sure.
Yeah. And the phone started ringing. It started ringing at midnight, woke me up. Okay. I'm not answering the phone. It went on, hang up, call back. In fact, when things really get you, I'm getting mad now. So I pick up the phone, and of course, it's a woman on the phone. What the hell? Oh, I just wanted to call and tell you that there has been an accident. Oh, yeah, right. Haha. I mean, this is my thing. You should really come to Puerto Rico. Oh, yeah, I get on a plane and come to Puerto Rico. I will really be in trouble. I'll call you back. I said, I called. I knew the hotel he was staying at, so I called the hotel, and they put me through to Dutch Mantel. Well, Dutch did tell me, didn't say exactly what had happened, but he did say there was an accident. So me, being me, I knew He did not like hospitals or anything like that. I said, well, perhaps I better go. There's there, Dutch. Perhaps I better go. And if it's me, he's going to want his son with him. If he has to stay in hospital for any length of time, maybe I'll go down and make sure that he's okay. And you know what I mean? Well, and then I called my neighbor up. And I mean, this is now, by this time, it's like 2:00 in the morning. And I called the airport because I used to do all the bookings for Frank. So, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything to call to make a reservation. So I called, I made a reservation. I didn't have any money. I was looking, Frank had credit cards he'd never used. Thank goodness I found them. I thought, where would he hide it? Where would a man hide something like that? And for some reason I found it. And,
Uh-oh.
you know, I'd been finding Jeff things, you know. I thought, okay. So I had a credit card that I thought, boy, when I get to the airport and I have to pay this, I hope they take it because it's not in my name and I don't have the cash. And I got to the airport and it was when Braniff, if you remember, we had an airline here called Braniff a long time ago that went out of business. And the guy at the Braniff counter was somebody that knew Frank. Oh, so I told him what had happened. He took the credit card and gave me, round trip and everything, because I didn't know exactly how long I was going to be. Had dressed Jeff up. He's still in his jammies. Dressed Jeff up, got on the plane. It went from San Antonio, I think, to Orlando to Puerto Rico, if I remembered. I called the lady from Orlando and told her I'm coming in. Now I know that I talked to her after that, so I knew it was Carlos Colon's wife, and she could talk. She was Canadian, so we had something in common. And I called her, and she said she would pick me up at the airport, and that's kind of how it happened. And then I told you when I got to the airport and then Abby was the one leaving, and he was the one that came up and told me that he had already passed. And of course, then I don't know. Then, like I said, going back on that story with leaving Jeff and that, you just go into shock. You just kind of go into, that, I don't know, whatever it is, knowing things have got to get done. You're in a strange country, and you just, I don't know, just go into shock, I guess. You name it, But I got everything done. I also knew I had to stay in Puerto Rico a lot longer, too, because I know I couldn't go home without a death certificate. Otherwise, I couldn't do anything. So I had to wait around a little longer, which was, to pick up the death certificates. And then I took them home because I wasn't going to get into this mess of bringing a body back to the States. So I had him cremated over there, and I brought him home with me on the plane. So, then I had a little service with all his, the friends and family and that when I got back to San Antonio.
You just seem very calm, like you just really were able to compartmentalize everything that you were doing there.
I know. I guess because I've lived in 3 different countries and I've had to, you know what I mean? I've kind of, I think, strange story. I don't know if I told you this. I think I believed in fate and believe you just have to because I think I told you that I should have been in 1968, I should have been on a little inter-island ferry that sunk. And because of an accident with my girlfriend we were getting ready to come over to Australia, and they had an inter-island ferry between the 2 islands. And she was having a 21st birthday party on the Saturday. We had booked on the Tuesday to go up on the ferry, go across, and then get in another boat, a liner, and go across to Sydney. But while at her party, she's cutting the cake and the whole table collapses on her foot. So we end up in the emergency room, and she ends up with plaster up to her knee. So against everybody's saying, no, you don't need to spend any extra money. You can manage. She's on crutches, and this is an inter-island ferry with steps and everything. So we changed our booking, and we flew up, and we were in Wellington the night and we were getting the boat the next day. Yeah, we were coming over across on the boat and then picking up the other boat. Well, a cyclone, they call them cyclones over in that part of the country, hit, and the boat we were on went on a sandbar. They didn't think anything was going to happen, and it turned over.
Wow.
And what happened was, with being a ferry between the two islands, it was full of cars underneath. People drive their cars on it.
Oh.
So when it was so rough, living through hurricanes, Jimmy, as you know, living through hurricanes, the water, it shifted all the cars and it just turned over. Well, a lot of people didn't survive, and her with her plaster on her leg, probably, and who knows, I might not have either. You just don't know. So I
Right.
think at that moment I believed in fate, and we never know where fate is going to take us. So we kind of have to be ready for anything. We don't like it because we like to have our nice, safe lives and everything like that. But I've always say you gotta give thanks each night before you go to sleep. You gotta give thanks. I had a good day, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and so I'm going to be ready for whatever tomorrow is going to bring.
Well said. Well said.